Indian Standard Time, Indian Stretch Time. No more than 2 hours late, and then you're late after that. I have to put on the next page. That's first. So when you gonna put the neck beat on her?
You can put her neck beat on?
Yeah.
You, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta find who else turns it down.
Well, Vicky, did you do your first 3 steps, Prabhu? Did you do anything here? Everything's done? Okay, you can begin. Yeah. Go ahead and begin the first couple of steps. You can start.
I have installed a sheet pot here. This is Ray's pottery. She decided that. And the first recommendation from those tribal is that we should be worshipping the sheet pot first and offer with art. So it is going to be short ceremony. And then I asked the candidates to take the ashram by chanting Ishvara, Narayan, Narayan, and wash your hands doing that. So that's the second step. And third step, we can go to Brahma Samhita, and then Maharaj can speak, addressing, give you the name of the word. So that's how.
Yeah, now somebody's got to help Durga with this archman, show her to do it. Mataji, please sit down for the initiations. Come on. We're getting too late here. Let's go.
It's on there.
You have to show Durga how to do the archman. We have archman cups for everyone? No.
Yes.
Okay. The cups should be with the dough. Yeah. Well, I don't have an archman cup. She doesn't have an archman cup. He doesn't have an archman cup. Where is the archman cup?
Not the cup of Maharaj.
tells you how to do the Achman, because you have to chant the mantras as you do that. So wait till he gets to that part. So run them through the Achman, teach them.
So you have everyone has an action in their hands. So the mantra that you have to focus on are simple. First one is Ishwaram. Now I'm just giving the instruction. Ishwaram Swami, Naram Swami, Naram Swami. Then so it says that clean both hands by sprinkling them with water. So you sprinkle the water on your both the hand and wash. Holding the ashes in your left hand, pour 3 drops into the right palm. By looking at the water, chant appropriate mantras that I will tell you. Then silently sip the water from the base of the right thumb, which is known as the thumb hill. Once you take the water and from the bottom right here, and say, "Oh, Ishvaya Swaha," and say, "Oh, Ishvaya." Now,
Wash now.
right, wash that hand. And the second mantra is Om Narayana Swaha.
Om Narayana. Wash.
Wash again. And then Om Mahvaya Swaha.
Om Narayana.
Om Mahvaya Swaha. And wash again. Sprinkle water on your right hand now. If you are done with sitting and wash the right hand by saying Om Govinda, and again wash the left hand by saying Om Govinda. Now, the first one that we have done is very important one. And it says, Om Apamitra Sarva Sthana Bhumiga Yasmai Purikacham Sabha Bhaya Vyadati. So please repeat after me. Om Apamitra Sarva Sthana Bhumiga The meaning is unpurified or purified, or even having passed through all situations, one remembers the lotus eye, supreme person guardian, who is clean without any. So that's because it's important, that's what chanting is. Unpurified
Unpurified.
or purified,
Purified.
or even having
Pass
passed through
through
all situations,
all situations.
one who remembers
Who remembers
the lotus eye,
the lotus eye,
supreme personality guardian,
Supreme Personality of God, Lord Sri Krishna, He
cleans
cleansed
without
without
and
and within.
very good. So now, right in front of us, we have the Brahma Samhita. As soon as we finish chanting Brahma Samhita, Maharaj will direct us and we will go further.
So just follow the pace,
Yeah, in fact, this
and you can read from the screen. Okay, we'll begin. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarna Karnam Chintamani prakata sattva shukalpa vriksha Latsa vriteshu surabhirapi palayantam Lakshmi sahasra satasam brahmasevyamahanam Govindam Purusham tamaham bhajami Venam Karanatvaravrinda Dalaya Taksam Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Kam Kandarvakoti Kamira Vishesha Shopam Govindamaya Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Aloha Chandra Kalasatvanamaya Vamsi Ratnam Keli Kalavilasam Shyaman Trimangalalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalendriya Pritimanti Parasyanti Bhanti Kalayanti Chiram Jayanti Ananda Chinmaya Sakujvala Vigrahasya Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutamananya Rupam Ajam Purana Purusham Yoganamcha Videshesha Durlabha Durlabha Mahatma Bhakto Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Fantastukoti Sarvasara Sampragamyo Vayoravati Manaso Muni Pungavanam Sokyastiyat Prabhadasimti Achitya Tattve Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekyo Rajitam Jagananda Kotim Yashakshirasti Jagananda Jayayarantam Anantarasta Paramanu Jayantarastam Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Niyoma Jastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhushaha Suktaryadeva Nigamam Prakitai Suvanti Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Sarvatipadikabhis Tahvirya Eva Yajupataya Kalavihi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Brahmani Murti Sukalani Amena Krishna Nanavataram Akarok Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pamanyo Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagananda Koti Kodishvashesha Vasudhani Vibhuti Vinam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantara Vishesha Bhutam Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Yasya Jaganasya Satani Sute Sraigunyatat Vishaya Veda Vidayamana Sadbhavalamni Parasarvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Sarvatayamanasu Yarpranina Pratipalam Smaratam Upedyam Lilayitena Bhuvanani Jayakayastam Govindamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Golokanami Nija Devi Mahesha Haridami Sukeshu Keshu Te Te Prabhava Nishaya Vikaschayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Sakti Eka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Bhakti Durga Ichanu Rupa Abhijasya Chachestate Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shriram Yataka Hivikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Nahitaka Pritahasti Hetu Yasham Uttama Vitata Samupaitya Karya Govindam Dhamani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deepacheva Vidasham Sarvamupetya Deepayate Vivrita Hetu Samana Dharma Yastadrikeva Vicharimshitaya Vivati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narnada Jala Bhakti Sayoga Niramaranta Jagaranta Saroma Kupa Adhara Shakti Abharam Vyavara Swamurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Nishva Sakala Bhavatavalamvya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jaganandanata Vishnur Mahansa Yadayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pasmanyatasa Sakalesha Nitesha Teja Sviyam Kiya Prakatiya Pramitavatra Brahmanayesha Jaganana Vijnana Karta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yadhala Pallava Yugam Vinyadaya Kumbha Vande Pranama Samaye Saganadi Raja Vigna Bhavantu Amayasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahikaranam Kumaruddhishascha Kahasta Dharma Manasitya Jagatrayamani Yasmat Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschakshuresha Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Ashesha Teja Yasya Grayana Samvitakala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dharma Tapapa Nijaya Shudrayastapamsi Brahmadi Kirta Pateka Padhayascha Jiva Yadatta Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasvindra Gopamata Vendra Mahosva Karma Bandha Rupa Padavajana Natanodi Karmani Nirga Adikinchu Bhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayati Vatsaya Moha Guru Gaura Sevya Bhavai Sanchipta Jasya Sadrisham Tanumapurete Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpatarvo Druma Bhumi Shekhamani Karimai Tvayam Amritam Katahanam Natyam Kamani Apiyam Supriya Saki Chyananda Jyoti Parma Pita Asvadam Apicha Sayatra Shravir Savati Suravir Sumaham Name se dokyo vyavati nahi yatra samaye vajjete swintatamaham nihaloka ityam padantaste shita viryanchara kapati Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarna Karna Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Yantimirandasya Kinajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gopavani Pachari Nirvishi Sasunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Panchakalpa Turubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhayecha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vichimaya Vesai Kachu Veshe Kachu Bhubai Chief Krishna Dasai Vishwash Kolina Adukanai Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur includes this in one of his prayers, actually one of his songs. A living entity, Karnanam Guna Sangosyo Sarasa Jone Janmasu. From the highest planet to the material world, Swargaloka, down to all of the other planetary systems, the living entity has evolved, or you might say, devolved, through various species of life, sometimes in a good material situation, sometimes in an average material situation, sometimes in a very horrible material situation, sometimes in lower species of life. There are 8,400,000 species of life, and each one of those living entities is part and parcel of Krishna. They all have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna, but only those who are fortunate to reach the human form of life have a chance to make the solution of all problems. And what is that? To develop our relationship with the Supreme Personality of God, an eternal relationship. The living entity is naturally in love with God, but due to the association of the material energy, that love is covered by so many misconceptions, so many misidentifications. So, therefore, the living entity struggles life after life in different species of life, going up and down the evolutionary scale, at least going down the universe, up and down the universal scale in different species. When they get to the human form of life, that is very rare. We don't think of it that way, but actually the human form of life is very rare, because if you compare, even in the calculations that describe if he can't sit still, don't include him here, because you can't disturb the lecture. Try to be quiet, okay, please? Thank you. The 8,400,000 species of life, how many? 400,000 are human. But out of the 400,000, how many are actually civilized human? How many can actually take to the process of bhakti? Even a very few amongst the 400,000. So to get to this particular stage in life, where one actually comes to the platform of making a solution to all the problems of life, is extremely rare. Not just rare, it's extremely rare. And if you compare, you can see how many are actually, all throughout the universes, people are actually taking to pure devotional service. Krishna even explains that in the Bhagavad Gita, that even those who take the pure devotional service, very few actually complete the process, and those who do, even those, out of those who are successful, hardly, he says, hardly anyone knows me in full. Krishna says also in the same chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I know everything that's happened in the past. I know everything that's happened and will happen in the future. I know everything that's happening in the present. I know everything that is yet to come. And I know all living entities but me. He says no one knows. To know Krishna is not so easy, but that is the goal of life. Ask him to sit still, please. I'm going to do something to make him quiet. Yes, thank you. And so, to actually know Krishna is the process of bhakti. We have to develop that knowledge of Krishna, which is the basis of achieving the goal of Krishna consciousness, which is love of Krishna. There are 4 activities of the materialist: dharma, karma, artha, and moksha. Religious, pious activities leads to economic development, which leads to finding various ways to satisfy the senses and the mind and the intelligence. And then, of course, when people reach a certain saturation point, they want out. That's called liberation. These are called the 4 Purusharthas. But then there's Purushartha Siromani. Purushartha Siromani means that Purushartha that is very rare. It's a rare gem. What is that? Prema Pumartha Maham. To actually develop love for the Supreme Personality of God. So only in the human form of life can one actually come to that stage and develop love. Of course, in the higher planets, Prabhupada says they also worship the Lord, but they're so much attached to material happiness and the positions of being in an elevated material situation. And very rarely, even the demigods come to this material world and take birth in our movement, and in order for them to actually achieve the perfection of life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. So it's very rare. Prabhupada also gave another example, which is quite interesting. We don't hear it much. And using an analogy, or a little antidote, he said there is a huge, vast ocean. And somewhere in that huge, vast ocean, there's a log floating. And in that log, there's a hole. And somewhere else in that ocean, there's a frog. And the frog is swimming around the ocean. The log is floating on the ocean. The frog comes to the surface, and he just happens to go through the knot in that log somewhere in that ocean. Using that, it's very rare to get to the devotional service. And there's many people who come to devotional service, but very few actually achieve the goal of devotional service. But the goal of devotional service is not difficult to attain, but it requires 2 things. And that is to carefully and with complete attention follow the instructions of the spiritual master with determination. The difference between animal life and human life is the principle of determination. Prabhupada says an animal cannot become determined. You break a stick and it goes in a different direction, some noise, something that changes their experience. But a human can become determined. So in order to achieve the goal of Krishna consciousness, one has to carefully follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Apply that in a determined way. And of course, there is a lot of mercy available. the mercy of the association of devotees, the mercy of the scriptures, the mercy of the holy name, the mercy of Krishna Prasadam, so much to support our enthusiasm and our determination in Krishna consciousness. But still, we have to make that effort. And again, the foundation is following carefully the instructions of the spiritual master. And Prabhupada, when he was asked, what is your most important instructions to your disciples? And Prabhupada said, my most important instructions to my disciples is to every day, on beads, without fail, chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So he clarified, out of all the instructions, that is the foundation for the success and the development of our progress in Krishna consciousness. Do carefully. Now, a lot of times we find, and this happens a lot, not a lot, but it happens, people are so enthusiastic when it comes to the initiation. Before, but then as time goes on, Maya seems to come in and divert our attention away, and we get a little bit less enthusiastic. Or we get a little lax to follow the principles, to chant the holy names, to take the opportunity to associate with Vaishnavas. And then we lose that in spirit that brought us to Krishna consciousness, and we just go on in a more mechanical way. And that cannot last, because either you go down or you go up. Spiritual life is like that. If you're not moving forward, you're being pushed backward. There's no question of what they say, sitting on the fence or just riding the waves. It's just the material energy works in such a way as to always be pushing us in that direction, so we have to be very enthusiastic to keep our consciousness fixed on the instructions of the spiritual master. And as Prabhupada emphasized, along with that instruction of 16 rounds on beads, he said, remember Krishna always. Now, to come to that stage of remembering Krishna always is the process of bhakti. And how do we do that? Carefully chant those 16 rounds every day. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one who chants regularly every day will eventually chant always. Because you keep chanting, you avoid the offenses. Srila Prabhupada was very enthusiastic in many of the initiation ceremonies to have the 10 offenses recited. So devotees will be reminded that it's two things, what to do and what to avoid. So we should know those 10 offenses and very carefully avoid them, and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then we'll make nice progress in devotional service. That's the foundation. And of course, always look for opportunities to engage in devotional service, practical activities of devotional service. Whether we're living inside the temple or whether we're somewhere in the community, we have to think, I have my intelligence, I have my resources, I have time, how can I serve? Always be thinking in that way, and of course the spiritual master is there to guide you in that direction also. So we should be thinking in that way. So I want to congratulate you. We have a very interesting mixture here. We have a first initiated, a second initiated, and someone who's already first initiated who is just going to throw the grains into the fire. So there's no two people on the same level here on this initiation. It's interesting, but that's okay. Variety is the spice of spiritual life. So thank you for coming forward, and take this process very seriously, and the strength in order to keep our enthusiasm up is sadhusanga. Association with devotees, particularly those devotees who can inspire us in our Krishna consciousness. So always seek out the association of devotees, and in that association, what do? We serve. We serve. Because that is our constitutional nature, is to be engaged in devotional service, and therefore whatever role we play within the society, within the world, is superfluous to our actual real role. Real role is Jiva Surupai Krishnera Nityadas. We are eternally servants of the Supreme Lord. So thank you very much for coming this far. We pray that you make it all the way. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we have one first initiate. So Durga. So first you offer your pranams to Srila Prabhupada. And then you can go to the altar area and offer to the deities there, and then you come here. Durga, she is the mother of a devotee, Anasuya, who was also very fixed in her Krishna consciousness. Shri Sri Radha Govindaji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama. Why don't you pay your obeisances one more time? Okay. So what are the 4 regulative principles? Speak into the microphone.
No gambling, no meat eating, no illicit sex.
One more. If you go down the street, you see so many shops that sell these things.
No gambling, no meat eating,
No illicit sex and
no illicit sex and no intoxication.
no intoxication. Okay, that means no, of course no intoxication, but sometimes we get intoxicated by watching TV, so no TV. Okay, and that's another form of intoxication. Okay. So, do you agree to chant at least 16 rounds every day at Maha Mantra on beads?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We're happy that you have come. And actually, her daughter is here, and she's a wonderful devotee. She just walked through the door. And because of her mother, she's become a devotee. So her mother has been her guide through her whole life. I've known Mataji Durga for many years. She goes to India, she goes on pilgrimages to the holy places. She's very saintly in her devotional life. She's 75 years old. She's at the beginning of her spiritual life, theoretically, but actually she's been doing it her whole life. So we're happy to give you a name. Your name now, Durga, is the personification of the external energy of the Lord. So now we will give you a new name, which is the personification of the internal energy of the Lord. Your new name is Purnamasi. Purnamasi Devi Dasi Ki Jai. All right, Krishna. You like that name?
Thanks.
Okay. We're just checking.
I've been coming 73 till 73.
She says she's been coming to Radha Govinda since 1973.
From Henry Street.
I started in 73, so maybe I should take initiation from you. Thank you. And we're so happy you have come this part to make this connection with Srila Prabhupada's movement in a very real way. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And of course we have 1 second initiate, and that is Jai Radhe. So do you agree to renew your initial vows of chanting 16 rounds and following the 4 regulative principles? And also learn that there are qualifications and qualities that are indicated of those who are receiving Brahminical status. Krishna mentions them in the Bhagavad Gita. They're also mentioned in other places. So learn those characteristics: simplicity, peacefulness, austerity, tolerance, detachment from happiness and distress. In other words, equipoised in happiness and distress, knowing the Shastras, be able to speak the Shastras, and knowing how to follow the religious principles that are given. Now, these are the qualities that are mentioned for Brahminical initiation. Okay. So carefully study those and practice those. A Brahmin is known by their activities and by their character, not by birth or by having any position in society. It's really about the activities and about the character. So Prabhupada wanted our society to be exemplary in character, to show the world that this is ideal life. This is ideal life. Okay, thank you very much. And we have Ananda, Ananda. I just met him about an hour ago for the first time. He is a wonderful disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And he is already taking his vows, and he's consummating the vows now by taking part in this yajna. So thank you. I'm sure Maharaj is pleased you've completed the whole process now. And of course, you know, although it's not second for you, still consider that it's always a good idea to think, oh, I promise to follow 16 rounds every day, chant and follow the 4 regulative principles. It's very important to always be remembering what is our responsibility in Krishna consciousness. That's foundational. So thank you, Hare Krishna, and thank you for sitting in and blessing this yajna. Okay.
So our book Samskara says, at the end of lecture, inform initiates that 5 yajna will now begin. The yajna, and they are to repeat the mantras after you word by word. Whenever I speak something, you repeat. And at the end of each complete mantra, they offer grain to the fire along with the mantra Swaha, Swaha, Swaha. And it's not only for those who are getting initiation, those who are attending, they can also repeat Swaha, 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 as well as the mantra and word for word. So now we will be lighting the fire and invoking the fire's name will vary from samskara to samskara. And that's why this particular fire for grounding the initiation, the first initiation, is Samudbhava. So Samudbhava is the name of the fire, and we will be invoking that fire right away. Om Namasundaya Sasudaya Sudavada Shurvaya Sastranam Shasasve Sasakurivaraya Namah. Om Prajapati Shri Guru Chanda Shri Vishnu Deva Amistapani Yoga. Om Mami Devadaya Avaya Amistapani Prabhu Pya Swagatam Guru. Yeah. Do I have it? So everyone is very familiar with this Mangalacharana verses, and it's like this. Yeah. Put it on your lap so that it's easy for you. Because you may be doing it very first time, the way to offer to Yagna Purush is use these two fingers. See, when I do this, these two fingers in the middle and the thumb, and take few grains of barley, and then as if you are feeding a child, you just don't throw it, you just as if you are putting in the mouth of the Yagna Purush. Do like that. Okay? And the Chandramouli wholeheartedly, everybody on please join. And he's bringing the barley for Maharaj. Now one thing, please chant very, very loud. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Lita Chandramouli,
Swami,
iti namine, So we usually chant Srila Prabhupada's name, but for all of you, he is now a spiritual master. So he comes first and then entire book on follows. That's why I did. Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine Swaha Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine Swaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati iti namine Namo Shri Varshavanavi Devi Vaikai Bhavdave Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Swaha Madhurujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Swaha Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virutta Apasiddhanta Svantahayine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipranamba Rasambode Padamjaya Te Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaur Shakti Swarupaya Upanuga Varayate Swaha Gaurav Avirbhava Umestam Nirdishta सज्जन प्रिय वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। स्वाहा वाञ्छा कल्प तरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। स्वाहा पंचतत्व आत्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यां नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपीशकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। मम मंद मतेर्गति मत सर्वस्व पदम पूजाओ राधा मदन मोहनाओ। स्वाहा By the way, we also have other kind of offering, oblation. So if you run out of your grain, you can use this also. These are like 9 kinds of woods, Ayurvedic point of view, and they crush it to the powder shape and then they offer it. So you can use that if you run out of the grain. Divyata Vrundaranya Kalpa Drumadam Srimad Ratnagaram Siyasthanastau Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestha Adibhiho Sivyamano Smarami Rasa Rasarambi Vamshivata Tatastita Karshanamem Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shriyastunaha. गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। स्वाहा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत rounds, you don't forget this mantra, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Swaha, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Swaha, Swaha. So now the book says that after Mangalacharan is completed with Hare Krishna mantra 3 times, instruct initiates to rise from and come forward. So you have to rise and come forward and place a banana which is in your plate in a fire after the final mantra that I am going to chant. Namo Brahmane Devaya, O Brahmane Hidaya, Jagitaya Krishnaya, Govindaya. Please rise. Yeah. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagata Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Swaha Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now I have some ash mixed with ghee and butter. Yeah, please. Hare Krishna,